On back with talking tickets. We are talking collectible tickets, our commemorative tickets, flipping tickets, buying and selling, auction review of heritage, and Shaun's big eBay score. What's going on?
What's up, Mike?
How's
Good
it
to see you
going?
again.
Good to be
Going well.
back. So
what's new? Where should we start?
Where do you want to begin? So much going on in the ticket world we can discuss.
Yeah, lots of. You had a couple subjects lined up. So what do you have first on the docket?
Let's go. Let's look at collectible tickets. I kind of want to get your opinion on this. Let me pull up the screen. So basically, when I always say collectible, I mean commemorative tickets. So commemorative tickets. This is a good example. So the most recent Cotton Bowl Classic, the game with the Ohio State versus Texas, where the guy had the sack, fumble, return for a touchdown, pretty epic college football moment. I was like kind of looking to get a ticket, never really pulled the trigger, but as we know nowadays, to get tickets to events like that, it's got to be very random. Like here's a good example, which was the player guest, right? This is the ticket. It says player guest, Cotton Bowl Classic. These things are pretty rare. There's about 5 or 10 on eBay that all sold. I haven't seen any since. So that was what you could get, right? Everybody's using their QR code to get in the game. Well, a month or two later, I believe those who are season ticket holders got this in the mail, which was pretty, I think it'd be awesome to get this version, the real version that would get you in the game. It has the Cotton Bowl and the two teams, the semifinal, just a really cool looking ticket. So I guess really, what are your thoughts on commemorative tickets?
I think that I like commemorative tickets as long as they're the only option. If that, like in the Super Bowl in that case, I think that they're kind of it's cool that is an option. In this case, it's kind of I don't know because the one on the left is not very attractive,
Right.
and the one on the right is far better. But yeah, it's a commemorative ticket, so that means that it wasn't used or it couldn't have been used to get into the game, right?
Right. It was shipped to all the season ticket holder, Cotton Bowl holders after the
Yeah.
game. So I'll kind of play a little game with you. Under that scenario, the one that occurred, which one would you rather own?
I'd rather have the original, even if it does look like that. It's
Okay.
not even close for me. And maybe I'm a little old school in that way, but one of the appealing parts of a ticket to me is that it theoretically could have allowed you to see the event. And if it couldn't have, then it's, maybe it's still a cool collectible, a memento, but it's not the same as if you could have actually used it to see the event.
What if this commemorative ticket was received inside the stadium, say in your cup holder in your seat?
And that was the only way that you could have gotten it?
No, but you have this option also, the original.
Right.
That's, I'm just
Yeah.
kind of,
Yeah.
what would be
Yeah,
your
no,
thoughts
what I
then?
mean about the commemorative is that they weren't sending them to you. You did have it you had to have had it. If you owned one, you had to have had it at the game, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I just really get down to the nitty gritty on it. I don't know if that's adds to it. I think it does add to it a little bit, but it's not. It's part of it. That nuance will be lost to time. Future generations won't know that about it, so it won't.
Right.
It won't be able to unless it somehow PSA designates it that way somehow, and it stays on the flip. But so I don't know if that makes a big difference. The other question is, well, what if the original also wasn't used to get into the game? You had to have your ticket. You had to have your digital ticket as well, but then you were holding that or something. It's just like the tickets from the 2000 teens there were so many that they're full tickets and nobody ever used them to get into the game. They just used their phone or a PDF.
Mhm.
Those weren't used to get in the game. You kind of know that, but still, in theory, they could have been used to get into the game, and that's the kind of variable that I would want.
What if this commemorative ticket was somewhat rare and say was only received by season ticket holders in their suites? So the supply
Yeah.
is very low.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Then I think kind of becomes a different type of collectible that maybe has a following of its own. You know what I mean? Because it
Mhm.
is rare, it is associated with the game. You had to have been at the game to get it, and it has a really cool look to it, layout, all of that. So it's almost like a card in that way. A rare kind of limited edition card.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I think there's a collectible market for that, certainly. But as far as it being a ticket in the traditional sense of a ticket, it's just not. So,
I
what do
guess
you
the
think?
last scenario I would present is what if you're at the game and they come on the Jumbotron and say, if you would like a ticket for tonight's game, please log into the app and make the purchase, but it's for a limited time only and it must be done before midnight tonight. And you have to do it.
Right,
You will receive your section, row, and seat number, and there can only be one per ticket.
right. Yeah, yeah. That's to me, that's best case scenario. That if you're not getting a traditional ticket to get into the game, I think that's the best alternative. But it's still not the same, but it's the closest to the same. It's kind of like the kiosk inside the stadium that you can go get your ticket printed out
Mhm.
if you want to, and it can only be your ticket or that one seat. Um, it's the closest, but it's not the same. But it is, given where we're at in the world of tickets, I think it's definitely something I root for. I want that to be more common because then it adds to the ticket collecting future. But yeah, it's still not the same. I mean, ultimately, you have to be able to hand it to the ticket taker, and they scan it, and then they allow you into the game as a result of you having that. That's the test.
The because that's kind of my best case scenario for this going forward is you're never going back. It's QR, and who knows
Right.
what the next version will be. I retina scan or who knows how they would do it. The
Yeah.
scan the phone in your pocket.
Right.
But I see that they'll contact you. Like, here's an example. I got this text on my phone today, which is interesting. And it says, you can't really read it, but it basically says commemorate last night's Alabama men's basketball dominant win over Mississippi State with a limited edition collectible tickets. Visit, and then you click the link on the phone to order your ticket. Well, that's the problem, I think, with a lot of these commemoratives, and then you can click on the link in the game and order it.
Hmm.
Is it needs to be like an exclusivity thing. Like, you had to be at the game.
Right.
There has to be a limited amount, and you could limit that by putting a deadline on it. An example I gave is like when they sell limited t-shirts. I saw like the Savannah Bananas had a limited edition t-shirt with the banana with the duct tape over it, like that famous
Yeah.
art thing that sold for 6 million, where they did their own little
Yeah.
collectible t-shirt, but they only sold, I think, 500 or 50 or 150 or whatever the number was, and they sold out, immediately. And I think that's where these companies need to go, is they need to make it exclusive, and they need to make it have to be at the game, has to be at a deadline, at the end of the tip or at midnight the day of the game, and you can only be your
Yeah.
ticket, your section
Only
row.
your seat. Yeah.
Otherwise, I think it's just all background noise, and
Yeah.
it doesn't have like a exclusivity feeling to it.
Yeah. It's appealing to. So there's the traditional ticket collector was kind of somebody who saved their tickets because it was a memory that they would put in a scrapbook or something like that. It was a memento that they hung on to because it was a fun event that they did. And that's kind of what they're appealing to, not the people who actually collect them as collectibles like us.
Mhm.
And so that, it just doesn't matter if it's just some random piece of paper.
Yeah, because I have some other random ones. I'm like, let me grab from my stack, like from the Mavericks games. This is gonna make me kind of ill, but like,
You haven't gotten over that yet?
no. This makes me so ill. But like they gave this away at the game, which is cool. It's round one, home game A. But this I actually think was you know what? That's an interesting one. So yeah, I think it was just around 2021. I'm thinking of the COVID year, but it wasn't. So they gave that away. It makes me sad.
But what is that? Does it have a seat number on it? Is it just a
No, it's just it wasn't. I'm just kind of like giving examples of what has been given out at stadiums, which are kind of cool, but not too exclusive. And then I think they mailed this one in 2020, like their first playoff, Luka on the COVID year, their first playoff game. So that's kind of other examples. And I had the, this Field of Dreams one. They did that for the game, but same thing. You could order online, put your own section, row, and seat number, so any Joe Schmo could do it. Those things.
Yeah.
I guess if you're kind of looking for something, I don't know. I would be really curious what kind of purchases they actually get on stuff like that.
Yeah. And the demand for it, if it was kind of set up the way that you are suggesting, versus the demand for it if it's just some random piece of paper. I wonder if it would be different.
I don't know.
But that if there was a major debut of a superstar or something like that, it would sell a lot.
Right.
Commemorative or otherwise.
Right, like even Luka's first game in LA. I think that would be super popular. You still asking me if I'm no, I'm not over it, Shaun. It's gonna take a Mavericks championship for me to get over it. That's it.
Really? That's it?
Okay. That's it. Mavericks championship. What else? I don't think I had anything else on the whole commemorative scene. Did you have any other hot takes?
No, I think we covered it.
Adam said he'd take the original, very auto worthy, and apparently they know a player already. Haha.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's I like for college football. I kind of compared that to like the kick six or band on the field. Probably not as big, but it was pretty, especially them winning the championship. That's a pretty big moment, especially in Ohio State history. That'll always be remembered. Were you what play I'm talking about?
I did not pay attention to, I've lost interest in college football, honestly, because it's so hard to follow now because players are jumping ship and coaches are jumping ship and
it is ridiculous.
Teams are jumping ship. I used to follow the Pac-10 and it's the Pac-2 now. So none of it makes any sense. I've lost complete interest in college football because of it.
Yeah, they need to fix the whole portal. These guys leaving every year is ridiculous. I don't mind getting them paid, but like lock them up for 3 or 4 years. So you don't have to jump in shit. It's crazy.
Well, I know, and if you're a team that isn't a top tier team, and you have a good quarterback, he's gone. They're
right. They offer him like $3 million, and then he's done.
It's hard to even get kind of committed to these guys that you're watching as a fan because that that's it. They're gone.
Yeah, it's almost turned like into college basketball, except they don't leave for the draft. They just leave for other teams all the time.
Yeah. I feel like college football is morphing into a minor league for the NFL.
I think they'll fix it, though. I think they'll eventually
figure
it out.
Yeah, they're going to have to figure something out because they're losing a lot of fans like me who I used to be a huge college football fan. Now, just don't even pay attention.
Dang. Who is your team?
Yeah.
Washington?
The Huskies.
No, the Huskies.
Yeah.
Of course.
The Washington Huskies, yeah. Yeah.
Let's take a quick look at the Heritage Auction. There really wasn't too many. Actually, I was surprised how few tickets there were. This is their big platinum auction, and there's only about, I don't know, couple dozen tickets in there. So kind of start off. This is kind of the biggest one of the night was the panel, which I think is a really cool ticket. This is the 1979 Magic Bird semifinal and final full. Just kind of a beautiful looking ticket. A nice full for the championship will go for anywhere from 5 to 10, I think, depending on. Well, actually, a stub will go for like 3 to 5 or 6. A full, then you're getting way up there. Now you put the panel together with the semi. and this one went for 29,280, which I was a little surprised it went that high. I was like, man,
That is quite high. Yeah.
that's almost what I would think if it was signed by both would go for. But then I looked in the past, and in 2022 went for 22,200. Let me
Wow.
see.
Is that the exact same one?
No, it's a
Probably.
different one.
Oh.
But I'm curious now because I looked, I don't know if this is going to come up, but Heritage, look what they're supposed to have for their next auction. 79 panel, is a deadline for this Tuesday, March 25th. Sometimes they don't show up, but it looks like there's a good chance they might have another panel for sale. So yeah, it says PSA 3, and this one says ticket full panel PSA 4. So that's kind of things we've talked about where you think one's not going to show up again, and then shablam, another one right in your face the next auction.
Yeah. And then and that's something you always have to be aware of and be kind of concerned about. And you just never know in that case where you're paying for something as if it's the only one or one of very few, and then the next auction there's another one. I don't know. It's hard to tell, but it's also something that's you kind of almost should expect in some ways that if there's one, there's probably at least a second, because most tickets in at some point in their history had multiples, because rarely did somebody go to the game by themselves. So they had at least two, sometimes three, four. And so, yeah, it's not uncommon for them to be out there. So oftentimes you'll buy something on eBay and it's a really rare ticket and you spend a decent amount for it, and then the same seller posts another one. So kind of have to be aware of that.
Yeah, and tickets, supply is, I think, such a bigger deal when things come up because the pops are so much lower. Compared to cards, the number of collectors is, probably less than 1% compared to card collectors, and the supply of cards is crazy. So if another one comes up, it's not a big deal. But for tickets, it basically does make is a bigger deal. I thought this was interesting. I was like, I don't know nothing about cars, but I was like, wow, 200,000 for that. Like, okay, I guess.
Signed Jordan cards.
I'm sure there's a reason.
Yeah.
This was a Super Bowl 1-4. I was kind of looking at some past sales that seemed kind of be right in line. And that's kind of what I noticed about this auction. A lot of stuff has kind of been falling in line with past sales, a little more, maybe a little less. Nothing too crazy. There's a few outliers. Had a nice jump with the panel. This Kobe, same thing. All the past sales have been like 10, 11, 12. This one went for 11. So I've kind of noticed that with debuts, but I had almost specified non-baseball debuts have definitely taken hits since the bubble, where I feel like you would almost know better that baseball debuts have held up more than non-baseball debuts. Do you agree with that?
I think they've held up more, but they've definitely gone more definitely moderated, but not nearly as much as say basketball or football, especially football. Part of it is that usually football debuts have a tremendous population attendance wise, especially more modern ones, because there was probably 60, 70,000 people at the game. Whereas a lot of older baseball debuts, it might've been, 7,000 people there or something. There's just not going to be as many out there. So, yeah.
And these are the type of tickets that have held up really well. I know I have one of these, and these were going for this type of condition. You're looking at closer to like 4 or 5K. I think the pop is under 15, maybe up to 20-ish now. It's right around that number. But 8,500 was a really strong number. These have been all over the place. Back in the bubble days, this is a 1965 Beatles, which is pretty famous because it was, I think, the first big tour or something, like the first big show, like stadium. I don't know all the background, but it's a very popular ticket. But I've seen these things crazy high. Now they're kind of more back to a reality, being a full. You may be more of an expert on these. The Rose debut.
This is the first one that I've seen sell since Pete Rose passed away, and I feel like the prior sales, or at least I theorized that the prior sales were high because people wanted to, because, well, there were certain people in the market who were getting these signed, and so they would overpay for them because they had access to Pete Rose and they could get them signed. And then I was curious to see where it would end when Pete Rose obviously can no longer sign. So this is the first one, and it still went for more than I would have expected it to. 8,000. That's a huge number for for a 1963 opening day ticket. So, and there's a fair number of these out there. So, yeah, that's a very strong price, I think.
You think the condition being a 5 with only 2 better had?
Yeah, maybe that is. I always have to look at that because it's not something that I really care about. So I don't really take that into consideration as much, but definitely the market does. So that could have easily been a factor.
Other one, Jerry Rice. Some of these got crazy in the bubble. This is a full 7,000. I don't know really what to think of this because it's kind of an ugly. It's in bad shape. It's got the Vikings logo all over it, but it is Jerry Rice. He probably arguably one of the greatest NFL players of all time.
Yeah.
So 7,000. One of these, I'm like, this is definitely a throw it on a heritage and let's see what it goes for. And
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, Jerry Rice is definitely a rare non-quarterback NFL player that just has a huge following.
Mm-hmm.
There's, usually it's always quarterbacks or nothing, but Jerry Rice is the exception to that. So this is, it's a great ticket, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a great ticket too. It's not personally what I look for, but a full and Jerry. I mean, in the peak of the craziness, this would have been a $40,000-$50,000 ticket.
Oh yeah, no question, no question about it.
This one I was kind of surprised that these ripped stubs will go for like 6, 7, 8, 9,000, and this full went for 6,700. And I'm sure it's because the marking. This is a WrestleMania one, and then the NSNA on it, so you really can't get it autographed. I know that's a big deal. Buy Hulk Hogan tickets, get them autographed by Hulk Hogan. So I think all those things.
What does NSNA stand for?
Not for it's something like with comp related.
Yeah,
I've been told before because I have another one where
no sale, no admittance, or something
like that.
Yeah.
So you can't resell it. I think they're comp tickets that you can't resell.
Right.
So they would stamp it when they gave it to somebody. But something like that. Don't quote me on that, but something weird like that. That's why it doesn't say anything about, not being, whatever the marking they would put on that.
Mm-hmm.
Miracle on Ice. You see a lot of these. It's always kind of the ballpark. Wasn't too surprised by that number. Pretty strong, I thought.
Yeah, for how many of those are out there?
Right.
It seems like there's just a lot of those out there. I don't really follow this, but I see them all the time.
I feel like these type of tickets do well on these auction houses that are appeal to the masses who may not know the supply, but like, oh my God, that's amazing. It's such a cool ticket.
Yeah.
And we'll always have people interested, ticket collectors and non-ticket collectors.
Yeah.
Where's Justin? He needs to comment on this one. This is his type of ticket, the Babe Ruth 3 homer, $5,000. This is kind of out of my wheelhouse.
What was the? Oh yeah, it's a PSA 3. Yeah, that's a fair price for it. I think that's right in the. I think you're right. This has been kind of a typical market. That Ichiro debut, is that signed?
Yeah, it's pretty nice ticket.
Yeah. I'm surprised it didn't go higher, honestly, since it's signed.
All right, so actually I have 2 of these.
Oh, here we go.
4 of these.
Here we go. Let's see them.
One of mine from the box. This is one that's affected because I found more than one in the box.
Are you ready to tell us how many were in the box yet?
The world may never know. So this one was mine. I'm fine with it because considering the payoff for what I paid.
Box cost you what, like $500?
Yeah, for the long story, make a long story short, I bought a box of random ticket stubs from an old ticket broker at the Dallas Card Show, paid $500 for it, and found multiple Hakeem Olajuwon full debuts in there. Probably one of the greatest
We did a show on it about 2 years
So you
ago.
could probably go back and find all the info.
Yeah.
I sold this one, and this is kind of will lead in these in two of my other tickets into the sales that I had. And oh man, somebody I think pulled one on me. That's crazy. I didn't even notice that. So this rock ticket I bought on eBay. Decided I didn't want to keep it, put it on Heritage, and after it was all said and done, maybe made a couple $100, $200-300. This might have been my ticket. I'm not gonna lie. I think I sold one of these on eBay or somewhere for like a few $100s, and somebody threw this thing on Heritage and got $2,000. Man, I just fully realized I have one of these like randomly. I don't know how I had it. I need to pull that up. Wow, I can't believe that one for that. I guess full Army Navy. Oh no, never mind. Never mind. Okay, that's what threw me off. I had an Army Navy ticket. I didn't have Army Notre Dame. Never mind.
Oh, okay.
This is the game of the century. I thought I was like, wow, this is crazy. Somebody going wild on Heritage. Pine Tar full. These are really cool tickets. This can be popping up more. What's your opinion on this one?
Yeah, I agree. It seems like Stubs and fulls, you see them periodically. It's a popular game and a popular ticket, no question about it. I don't have one, and specifically because I feel like given the number that are out there, they tend to sell for a higher amount than I would want to pay for it. But this one was actually a little more reasonable, I thought. 2,500 for a full and whatever that top thing is. What is that? Some kind of
it's like a Stadium Club pass. Stadium Club, get in the exclusivity lounge.
Oh, okay. So once you're in the stadium, then you can use it. Yeah. So it's kind of a nice little side. This is actually the most reasonable sale of this ticket, given that you get the extra add-on.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty 2,500. Seems like a pretty solid. These are my two. Kind of a little background on this one. So I have this. So I decided I wanted to sell the other one. I have the season ticket holder version, autographed, which I like better. The auto doesn't come through as well. You can't really see it as great, but kind of give you an idea.
Yeah.
So
that one's definitely better.
Yeah. So I bought this. It was like a PSA 10 when I bought it. So this kind of gives you the whole what will lead into my flipping little slide.
You're not showing it.
Oh, my bad. So I bought this. It was a PSA 10. I cracked it. I think I may have paid like $1,500 or something for it. Sent it off, got it signed, which was like another $500. Then sent it off PSA to get it. Yeah, you go through all these hula hoops. When it was all said and done, I think I probably about broke even on it, to kind of give you an idea of how that worked out. In hindsight, what somebody could have done, a PSA 1010 probably would have went for $3,000 to $3,500 because people love 1010s. I don't care. 910 sounds cool, but 1010 is the ultimate.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a good example of that is this one. This one was mine. And a 910, which looks exactly the same. If you put 2 and 2 together, you would never be able to tell the difference. You're talking about a $700-800 ticket. Well, this 1010, double that, $1,500. And this is a nice one with inscription. This is kind of where I was like, I hope at least it gets this. You never know. Maybe some big card guys battle it out. But I was
kind of surprised it didn't go for more.
Yeah, I thought it had the potential to go for like over 2,000, but because there's only 3 1010s. I have the other 2. Luckily, they all came back 1010. I may have got lucky with the grader or something. PSA, this grading stuff's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how it worked out. So I got 2 left. I kind of want to just hold on to them. A lot of the other stuff's just smaller. But this kind of leads into my flipping. I kind of put like a flipping tickets 101.
Oh, nice
slideshow together.
Great.
So basically, I've got to click this on there. Obviously, this is one way to do it, right? You buy on one marketplace, sell on another. but there's different kind of lower end marketplaces to higher end. So this kind of is like a little hierarchy. Like, okay, buy at a card show, sell at Booger Stubs. You can always find like lots of good deals at card shows, especially if you're a dealer. People will come up to you and give you, hey, I don't know what it's worth. I get that all the time. And you offer them like, man, it's worth this, but I got to pay you this because I got to make money to resell it. I'm not buying it to hold it. So those are great items. Boogers is the probably next step up from a card show. You could list it there. You can list these anywhere, but this is kind of the next path is buy on Boogers, sell on eBay. Done that before. This is kind of how I put the hierarchy of all this. There's been times I've bought on eBay and put it in an auction house because I feel like some items just sell better at an auction than posting it on eBay at a fixed price where it just kind of grows stale. And then after that, I've done this before, bought at a smaller auction house where there's not as many eyeballs, the SCP, the Gray Flannels of the world, the Weiss auctions, things that kind of slip through the cracks. You can even find this like in Golden on their weekly auctions or the PCW auctions. I guess it's the Fanatics marketplace now where there's just not as many eyeballs. So you're talking about the tickets that are $50, $100, $200 tickets. Don't get many bids. They should go for $400 or $500, or $25, $100 tickets goes for 25. A lot of times if I just see value that I will basically, put a high bid in or keep an eye on it and be like, well, this is the most I want to go. If I don't get it, I don't care. But if it goes for this, I'll definitely buy it. Do you ever do anything like that? Where you like?
Yeah, I used to, but I've since, in the last couple of years, I've really narrowed my focus and I've just been more into collecting what I like. And so if I see stuff, and oftentimes these are excellent examples because I'll do this, but I'll just keep it.
Right.
And I'll never kind of flip it, but certainly get good deals in these different venues, and I could flip it for a profit. So I know how to do that, and I know what to look for in those cases. And I feel like the more you know about any particular genre, even within the niche of collecting tickets, the more you know about it, the more capable you are of doing something like this, because you just know what to look for.
Yeah, it's all about knowledge of what's out, just the marketplace, really.
Yeah.
Basically smaller auction house, put it on a larger auction house. Basically, that's kind of the top of the line where, most money, most eyeballs. You could make an argument that eBay sometimes is better for some things. That's kind of the top of the food chain, the larger auction houses, the Goldens, the Heritage, the Lelands.
So are you actively doing this?
No, I mean, I don't like actively. It's more of it's just if I see something and I'll put a bid in. Sometimes I'll see items that will be, oh, this is on eBay, but I think this would really do really well on Heritage, or I think it'll be better on Golden. They have more of a mainstream. I don't know, certain items that I guess I'm trying to think of more specifics. What would be better on Golden? Maybe more pop culture-y things, maybe more international appeal. But there's just things that sometimes I think that's too cheap on eBay, but on Heritage, I think it could actually do all right where people are actually bidding against each other.
So when you're talking about eBay, are you looking for buy it nows that are listed too
Mostly
low,
auctions.
or auctions?
A lot of times eBay auctions is where you can find really good deals.
Right.
Just because some people just don't see it. It's only up there for 7 or 10 days. And people don't get their bids in. Next thing you know, you got a great ticket at a great deal. So I think eBay auctions are a great option to get value. Taking a raw ticket and just getting it graded. I mean, I've done that quite a few times on eBay. Sometimes people are afraid to buy raw tickets on eBay. It's definitely risky. But if you get a good look at it, maybe ask a few questions to the buyer, maybe be receptive, and you're like, hey, it's worth, maybe I'm getting a PSA 8 or 9 ticket that is a raw. And, if you do that, then great. As long as it's not like a 1 or a 2. Done that before. Buy a graded ticket, crack it, resubmit it. Have done that, especially one that's authentic. Take it from authentic, make it graded. I've done that multiple times.
Right.
I mean, there's a way you could even do the whole altered thing now with PSA where it says altered. Well, guess what? Beckett may not alter it. So you could crack it from PSA, send it to Beckett, and now you don't have an altered ticket. And, there's a lot of debate on what is really, if it's really altered or not. I mean, I guess you could do some ethics questions with that. But
the authentic to graded, especially if it's a low number, because a lot of those back in the day were way more common.
And you mean more low barcode number?
Yeah, certain number. Because back in the day, it was actually fairly common for people just to get authenticated. They didn't really think the grade mattered. I still feel that way, but obviously the market has changed quite a bit in that way.
Other ones, PSA 9 to a 10. For some tickets, everybody knows in the card world, big difference between a 9 and a 10. And if you want to take that chance and leave it up to the graders, there's always a possibility of that. Going from a 4 to a 5 doesn't do much unless, it's a super high grade. I talked about that Wilt ticket that I had, the Wilt 100 that I took from a 3 to a 4. Well, now it made it the highest graded. So that's definitely worth it.
Right.
So things like that can make a big difference.
Yeah.
This is the one that we've seen a lot lately. Buy the ticket, get it autographed, get it graded. For me, the Jeter ticket really didn't work out, but I guess there's that delta between the ticket and the signed ticket. And right now it's worth it for people to do that. But sooner or later, you assume either the non-auto ticket price will go up or the auto ticket price will go down, where it doesn't make it worth, or they'll just charge enough for the autograph where it's just not much.
That's the added value on it.
Profit.
Yeah. I think with that one, the most important variable is to find a ticket that by itself is extremely rare. And then, you don't have to really worry about the competition. So in the Jeter example that you had, is not a particularly rare ticket. So, people can figure, well, I can do this myself or buy a different one or whatever. But if you have a ticket where the pop is only 3 and you go get it signed, then and there's high demand for it, then maybe that's gonna bring in a huge premium.
And we talked about that panel ticket, that Bird Magic. Well, I bet there's a better than 50% chance whoever bought that is going to crack it, get it autographed by both, and then try to see if they can get 40,000 for it, 35,000 for it.
Yeah.
Buy to sell at the National. So there's very few. There's probably, I count on one hand the number of ticket guys that sell at the National, but there are certain tickets that sell better at the National. The ones that jump out at you, the bigger ones, that the Nirvana, basically last ticket that I've showed before, the the date of his death. I don't have it up here there, but there's some other ones like Game 6, the ones that have great eye appeal, historical things. That's kind of what is the big selling point at the National, is when people walk by, it catches their eye.
So you've done the National enough to kind of know what is appealing. Do you try to load up on those type of tickets before you go?
I don't really load up too much, but if I see like a deal on some, like I bought recently a last ticket of the Nirvana. Let me see if I could just pull it up real quick, kind of give you an idea what it looks at. Nirvana, and it was the date of his death ticket, and it just kind of jumps out at you, like this one. Man, I have this at a show. I will get so much attention for it, and it just doesn't sell like it would on eBay. If you can buy this cheap, get it graded, take it to the show, you guarantee you're looking at least 1,000. But online, it just kind of gets lost in the woods. But at a show, it's like, oh my God, Nirvana! Oh my God, this is the date of his death. I've probably sold 2 or 3 of these at shows. Yeah, and you just learn kind of those things over time.
So it's kind of, you're looking for something that maybe somebody might have an emotional attachment to, and see, and kind of make an emotional purchase on the spot, type of thing.
Yeah, that big Nirvana just like jumps out. I'm like, oh, I love Nirvana. Oh my God, that kind of. So you get a lot of that at the shows. But yeah, that's basically ticket flipping 101. And I was almost thinking
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
I have that history of buying and selling sports tickets. We could almost do a show on the best way to buy sports tickets, at least on the secondary market, because there's a lot of little tricks I use when I try to buy tickets, like, the best deal, when to buy, what marketplaces to buy.
Yeah.
Maybe that could be a whole nother show.
I'd be interested.
We got a lot of ticket buyers, I'm sure.
There's one that I would add to that, and maybe this is Flipping Tickets 102 or 200 201 or something. But that's finding lots that.
Oh, I had that.
Oh, you did have that? Was that in there?
Oh, I was gonna add it, but yeah. Go ahead.
Because it's Flipping Tickets 102. It's not, because you actually have to know what you're looking for, and you have to be you have to have a good knowledge base of kind of the things that are appealing, but you also have to know dates, because it's easy enough to, let's say you see a spread of tickets in a lot on eBay, and you can look through it, you can kind of glance through it, but you need to be able to pick out certain things that a ticket would look like that might be an important ticket, if that makes sense.
Right, for sure.
Am I breaking up?
Yeah, but you're back. You're good.
Okay, good. So that being said, I have an example of that I just did on eBay about a month ago. And so this was a lot that I ran into, and I was looking through it. Usually when I see something like this, I assume that it's probably anything good is probably already picked through, because there's a lot of ticket people out there. And they're, kind of selling the stuff they didn't really care about. So I just kind of glanced through it to see if there's anything that is within my collecting interest. And in this one, not really, but the one ticket that did stick out is that Pittsburgh Pirates ticket that's kind of right in the middle, the orange colored one, a little bit to the left. But that one, I think, that one. And so there you go. If you look closely at it, you can see the date on it. That's September 11th, and it's clearly a 1970s ticket. Mm-hmm. And I knew when I looked at it that September 11th is Andre Dawson's debut. But there's, and it's just some random thing that I just happen to know. but
I'm quite impressed. I will admit, I'm quite impressed.
It's Andre Dawson's debut was also a mid-70s Pittsburgh Pirates game. And so that caught my interest. And so I started doing a little bit more research, because the year of that ticket is not on it. It's just the date. And so I needed to figure out what year it was, because I thought maybe it was Andre Dawson's debut. And so the event number, if the image isn't very clear, but the event number is 68. And looking at other Andre Dawson debuts out there, there's not that many of them, but found a copy of it. You can barely see it there. But the event number on other Andre Dawson debuts is 68. So then I was thinking, well, maybe this is Andre Dawson's debut. So I had to figure out how to get the year pinned down. And first of all, I looked up all the years in the 70s where the Pittsburgh Pirates played at home on September 11th. So that narrowed it down a little bit. The second thing, and this is a really good resource if you're trying to research this kind of thing, I was able to find the ticket prices for the different years by using pocket schedules that are posted on eBay. And a lot of times pocket schedules will have all of the prices for tickets for a particular year, and you can look at it and see what the ticket price was. And so from those, this is, maybe a few hours of research, but from that, I was able to figure out that the date, in 1978, the price of general admission seats went up to $2.50. So I knew that it couldn't be 1978 or later. So that narrowed it down to 3 years, 75, 6, and 7. And from that, I was able to tell that, because I knew that 76 was event number 68, which this ticket was, 77, by looking at other Pirates tickets, I was able to find that 77 was a different event number. It was like 71 or something. And then 75 was also a different event number. It was like 69. And so the only year where the Pittsburgh Pirates played at home on September 11th on event number 68 with the $2 price for admission for general admission was 1976. So from that, I concluded that this was Andre Dawson's debut, which is an extremely rare debut. There's like 3 in the pop report, and I own now 2 of them. And
is he
Hall
of that's I would say that is, I feel like you're in the wrong, whatever your line of work is, you're in the wrong line of work. You need to be doing some kind of sleuthing detective work, research analyst.
I enjoy this. This is part of why I like ticket collecting. It's just, the research on it. So there's only 3 in the pop report of Stubs. I think there's 2 fulls. And so this is my second one, but already graded a 4. Turned out, sent it to PSA, make sure that I was right. And there it is. Andre Dawson debut. There's only 7,500 people at the game.
He's not Hall of Fame, is he?
Yeah, he's a Hall of Famer.
Is he?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Is that deserving? Andre Dawson deserved being the Hall of Fame?
I'd say he's the 2nd or 3rd tier Hall of Famer. He's definitely better than Harold Baines. So he's definitely better than Scott Rowland.
So what's the value on that ticket?
I think I would probably put it around 2,500, 3,000 maybe.
Wow. Awesome.
But yeah. So I mean that I paid, I forgot what, 300 and something for the lot. So that's, there's flipping 102.
Yeah, you're flipping 102 right there. Shoot. You're flipping 100, number 1.
Yeah, and just as a side, there was definitely nothing else of importance in that game, in that lot. So whoever was selling it probably, took out any Hall of Fame home runs or, anything that you could find in the box score that was important. But there really wasn't much.
It's sold by somebody called estate finders. And I feel like those type of sellers are more likely to have hidden gems because they're not.
I agree.
They're selling a lot of general stuff. They probably bought this at a estate sale or something random, and they're just do some quick research. Don't find anything obvious, call it a day, put it up on a lot, get some money, be done.
Yeah. That's definitely, there's certain sellers that are actual ticket collectors. Often you can look at other sales that they've had or other things they have for sale, and you can tell that they collect tickets. So that if there was anything good in the lot, it wouldn't be, doesn't mean that there's nothing desirable, because there's still a lot of things that people collect that they're looking for that aren't anything that anybody else really cares about. So, might still have demand.
Yeah, I feel like there's all sorts of type of ticket collectors. There's the bargain bin hunters. There's the whale hunters. I feel like just everything in between. People who are just looking to buy and sell to flip. Someone looking at certain collections. Some of that collections are all over the place. I guess with any collectible hobby, you do get all walks of life, but it is kind of interesting how different people go about collecting or going into the ticket collecting world and how they operate. And then we had one more auction. Shaun will be back, and there he is. The June 30th, 1909 opening day, Forbes Field, Pittsburgh Pirates ticket stub. Honus Wagner went on eBay for $91.26. Thoughts?
Yeah, that was a big one, man. I definitely bid on that one. You want to talk about extremely rare, also a good flipping opportunity.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because that's one that if it was slabbed and sold at, Heritage or something, would probably sell for twice that, or at least 15,000. Because the first game at Forbes Field, extremely rare. A ticket that's over 115 years old. That was a really rare ticket that you just never see, period, let alone on eBay. I definitely bid on it and tried to win it, but it was out of my price range. I'm trying to think. The only thing that I would be concerned about with something like that is is it authentic? And so if I bought something like that, I would immediately send it to PSA and do overnight and just try to get it back as soon as possible. Find out if it's authentic because you'd never know in this type of thing. a lot of money.
I feel like this ticket was also at the Baseball Hall of Fame, and correct me if I'm wrong. There's some Forbes Field is famous because it was the first big baseball stadium, as in have all the fancy amenities like club levels and things like that.
I'm not sure if it had club level. It was
Or
definitely
just
one of the
kind
first
of
big ones.
right, not just basic rows of bleachers. Like they had
Yeah.
exclusive area, it had just kind of some of the the
The more
founding of
modern
what
amenities.
right, the
Yeah.
first of
Yeah.
modern amenities.
And it also was in the, I think 1970 was maybe when it was torn down. So it was one of the old stadiums that kind of like Wrigley and Fenway and Tiger Stadium that it, it didn't, it was, there's a lot of nostalgia around it, I guess.
Scott says, I won that Forbes ticket. I live in Pittsburgh and collect rare pirate tickets. The seller lives here in Pittsburgh as well, so I met the seller.
Nice. That's great. That's great. I'm glad
I guess
somebody won it who appreciates it like that.
I guess my ignorance, I guess I really don't know much about Forbes Field. When I think of big tickets, not being a Pittsburgh person, I'm thinking, oh, Fenway, Wrigley, the ones that are still around. But I guess Forbes Field still has this majestic
Yeah.
quality
Yeah.
to it for big
Yeah,
baseball.
the nostalgia of it, because that's where, Clemente played, and it's one of those old stadiums that baseball people who are into baseball history really appreciate.
Mhm.
Sort of like Fenway, but it was torn down decades ago, so a lot of people who are, younger don't really have that appreciation unless you're a baseball historian or a Pittsburgh fan.
Right. Yeah, it is
So,
cool that a big Pittsburgh collector
but by
got it.
comparison, a ticket to the first game at Ebbets Field sold for, I think, 40,000 or 30,000, something like that. Same with the first game at Fenway,
Mhm.
something like that. So in that range for, Forbes Field, I wouldn't call it the same as Ebbets Field, but similar in that same kind of nostalgic with a big following. Yeah, I thought that was a great
What
deal.
about first ticket to the American Airlines Center? 10,000?
At least 50,000.
The Kingdom?
Yeah, I have lots of those.
I think the last thing I had I thought was really cool. I don't know if you saw this. So Tony Hawk posted on Instagram, and this is a Nirvana ticket from the Vatican. I had to look this up from 1991. This is a little tiny venue in Houston, and he posted, went straight from a SUAS event at a Houston skate park to this concert in 1991. It was as transformative as live music can possibly be. We all experienced something rare and powerful that night. The world would never be the same. I wish Kurt were here so he could see the incredible woman his daughter has become, meet her devoted, caring husband, and hold our wondrous grandchild, which is interesting because his son married Kurt Cobain's daughter, and that's another reason why he posted this. I was like, oh, wow, that's really cool. Hawks posting a pretty cool Nirvana ticket from 91 at a tiny, tiny venue.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. This is my birthday too, October 20th.
It's meant to be. There is they played at a club in Dallas, a tiny little venue, about 600, hold about 600, 800 people, and called the Trees, or just Trees that I've always wanted to find, haven't been able to. But I really love these super small venue tickets, especially for a band like Nirvana. I was like, man, it'd be so amazing to see them 500 person before they become insanely huge.
Yeah. This reminds me of a Bat Boy story that I forgot to tell last show. But it's related. It's related directly. So one of the games, one of the cool things was there was always celebrities around in the clubhouse. They would show up, or maybe they're throwing out a first pitch or something. And one day I walked into the Bat Boy room, and it was Eddie Vedder. Eddie Vedder was in there, and I was a big Pearl Jam fan. Like it was a popular time, and I actually had a chance to just talk to him, just one-on-one, have a conversation with him, and get his autograph on a ball and stuff. And then as he was leaving, he invited me and the other Bat Boy that was in there to go to the concert that night. And it was at a really small venue.
Really?
Yeah. but neither of us could go, unfortunately,
Oh,
because we both had other things going that I always regretted that because that would have been really cool. Really small venue. It was like I forget what it was. It wasn't a bar, but I mean, it maybe had 500 seats in it, and they were
was
playing
this
there, Pearl Jam.
was this before their big album? Was it
No,
10?
they were. Yeah, it was after they were huge at that time, I think. But they just did that. They always they liked playing at small venues because they just like the intimate scene, and um, they weren't sellouts. They didn't want to sell out at least at that time. So
I mean, was he just gonna leave you tickets at will call, or did he
no, he
say?
said he told us to talk to the guy because one of the trainers was friends with him and brought him in to take batting practice or something. And he said, "Yeah, talk to whatever his name was, and he'll leave tickets. He'll get you tickets." So, but unfortunately, we didn't go, and yeah, I always regretted that because that would have been great.
If you would have talked to the right person, be like, "Hey, can I just leave early tonight? Go to the show?" Would they have let
I
you?
don't know.
Or
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but because I lived an hour and a half away,
oh my
so
gosh,
yeah, because I was in college, and so I really just couldn't do it because the next day I had to get up and go to class and do the whole thing. So, I had
Shaun.
responsibilities.
So every game you drove an hour and a half each way when you're in
I
college.
did. I did. Yeah.
Dang,
Yeah.
that's commitment right
It
there.
was. Yeah. It was a lot. Then I had another job too. So during the day, during the morning,
Wow.
I worked at the dining hall and on campus for breakfast. I was an omelet maker.
Bat boy for the Mariners, omelet maker at the dining hall.
Whatever. Had to
Yin
pay.
and yang.
I had to make money to pay for college.
What college do you go to?
Western Washington,
Western Washington. What are they known for?
nothing. They don't. They don't really have sports or anything.
There's not too
No
much
major
going on
sport.
at Western Washington.
Yeah. It's known for its education program and maybe environmental studies. So
It's like I went to grad school at Seton Hall, and they're just known for making the NCAA finals back in the late 80s, and that's about it.
yeah, I remember that.
Well, I don't think I have anything else. Did you have anything else?
No, I think we're good.
Oh, I had a few pickups.
Um,
I bought
let's
this
see.
on eBay on an auction. This is the Michael Jackson Moonwalk ticket. I've been looking for one of these for a while. It's a little beat up, but it's hard to tell, like when you look at it right now. But when you look at it close, I think just the material of this ticket. It was on an eBay auction. So I think, no, actually it wasn't an eBay auction. It was a best offer. Me and the guy went back and forth. And they started popping up a little more and got a little more reasonable. But I really like concert tickets. I think they're still a little undervalued. I made a trade for, I've always wanted one of these, the finals, the World Cup, I believe the Argentina-France one. I do need to send this in to get it graded because I know there are some replicas out there, but the guy seemed pretty reputable on Facebook. I think he's on Boogers. I can't remember his name. So there's a couple I've been looking for and been wanting. So those are kind of some two pickups that I was happy to get. Did you have any?
I have a few that I bought that I haven't gotten yet that are pretty big. So
Big.
I'll save talking about them until we have another show. But,
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a few. But that's it.
Well, excelente. I guess this is probably about it, right? Nothing else.
Yeah, I think we're good. Good show.
Good show. Well, all right. I guess we'll have another one soon. Could be a week, could be 2, 3, who knows? But everybody, thanks for joining, and we'll see you then.